Hi there, it's Kareem from Keeper's Nursery. Today is the 22nd of June 2024 and I'm making a video about cherries. Hooray! So right here I've got the Stella cherry. Now this is probably the most popular cherry that we sell and one of the most popular ones in Britain that's grown. As you can see, it's a hell of a cropper. Now I'm going to zoom in just to show you what it looks like here. We are going to try some. Now you might be thinking, how's he got all these cherries? Well, actually you might not be thinking that. The thing is, usually we don't have any cherries in the nursery. In our collection here we've got, I don't know, 50, 60 different cherry varieties that my father collected over the years. Lots of them from a man called Mr. Gardner, who's a big cherry enthusiast. I know Joan Morgan's making a new cherry book with Elizabeth Stowell's illustrations, which is exciting. That's coming out soon, I hope. But generally I don't know a great deal about cherries because I never really get to try the fruit, and the reason being birds come along and will take all the cherries off the trees. Behind me on these cordons you can see there aren't any other cherries really apart from this giant juicy cluster here. Actually there is one here, and this illustrates how I've protected some of the cherries. So I've put them in these bags. These were the bags I used for hand pollinating. So this is a fine sort of plastic mesh, as you can probably see. It basically does a great job on the pollination front because insects aren't really very strong, so they can't really get in and penetrate the bag, so they just leave any blossom they see in there. With the cherries, I basically bagged the cherries in, must have been May time. So I did them for two reasons. Number one, there's a spotted winged Drosophila, which is basically a fruit fly which comes along when the cherries are ripening in, I assume, early June or late May. Comes along, lays its eggs there, and so you get cherries full of these baby sort of larvae, tiny little maggots, let's call them. The bagging them prevents the Drosophila because, you know, a fruit fly can't get through that, so it won't be able to lay its eggs. Birds, however, now I probably bagged about 100 bunches of cherries in here. I'd say over 50 of the bags, so over 50% of the bags were sort of ripped to shreds by birds. I think some of them, because they were slightly better hidden underneath the canopy, the birds couldn't really see them, but there were plenty of bags which I've taken off now. And they unfortunately have to be discarded because I can't use them for pollination, which is annoying because I don't like to waste things, but there's no point trying to mend those. But some of them have survived, and so now these cherries in here haven't got any of the sort of Drosophila in them. Look at these lovely cherries here. So a Stella cherry. So basically I'm just going to go through and try these. I do recommend maybe trying to bag them. Some people will basically net their entire tree. Birds are pretty persistent. Some areas they don't really have issues but with birds. I'm jealous of those guys, I guess. I mean, obviously my situation's great for growing fruit, but some places you see people just growing strawberries willy-nilly and there's no issues. If I grew strawberries, the birds would rip them to shreds, they'd eat everything. Likewise on these trees, actually badgers do climb these trees. We get mice in the trees as well, so there's all sorts of wildlife which will come for your fruit. Squirrels squirrels probably don't bother with cherries, but squirrels will take a lot of cob nuts, and they've taken all of my peaches and nectarines this year as well, despite me catching, I don't know, dozens of them. There's still just so many around. Anyway, back to cherries. So cherries, this is quite new for me. I haven't really gone through and tried these cherries, as I said, because I've not had the opportunity in my life, even though living here past 35 years, there's just never really bothered netting the cherries because it was just so much extra effort and we were always disappointed. This year I've got away with it, so I'm thrilled to make a video and try these. So Stella, I'd say this one you could ripen a bit more. This is quite a popular cherry also because it is self-fertile, so that means if you grow a Stella cherry tree on its own, it should pollinate itself, so you don't need a second tree to pollinate it, so you don't need to sort of get all the pollination groups and timings. Cherry blossom comes, it's a very sort of clustery white blossom, and it arrives before apple blossom, so that will be in sort of April time. Pollination period was all right for these. It's a bit later than plums, so the plums unfortunately have no fruit on this year, which is sort of second year in a row. Probably I'd say maybe 4 out of the 5 last seasons we've had basically no plums, which is very disappointing because I absolutely love plums, but makes up for it. I've got cherries here. I've got a few apricots left as well. So all is all right. Also, I've got plenty of things to keep me busy in the house. We recently had twins, so hooray for me. I'm very busy. But yeah, I'm just out here making this video to get away from the family, possibly. So it's yeah, it's cherry season. So I don't know a great deal about all the different flavors. Cherries, basically, you get several different types of cherries. I have read up about cherries, and there are descriptions, and these are what people come to us and buy these cherries for. It's just a first-hand experience, which is new to me. Whereas with apples, I've got loads of first-hand experience, and I am reading more and more about different apples. Currently reading John Bunker's book. I bought that. I got sent that from Maine in New England, America. That's an interesting book. It's about detection of apples, and I'm looking forward to Jones Morgan about cherries. So please support well, her and her work. She's very good at what she does. So cherries. So this Stella. Now Stella, you can sort of let it ripen a bit more. It's a dark red cherry. It's delicious. It's basically, if you imagine in Kent around this time of the year, you go on the roadsides and you can buy basically these. People will sell you punnets of these, trays of these. They are quite expensive to buy because there's a lot of effort going into cherries. A lot of the bigger farms either net them, as I said, or they do use these loud bird scarers where they make very loud sort of booming sort of shotgun sounds. I think they're about 120, maybe 30 decibels, so they're very, very loud. They're bird scarers. They scare the birds away. It is effective. They are just a bit annoying to hear because you think someone's shooting someone all the time. This is an absolutely delicious cherry. I don't think anyone would be disappointed in this cherry. The other types of cherries, you also get the completely black cherries. You get slightly smaller cherries as well, which are less juicy, less meaty. Some of the bigger ones, which people like, are bigger and meatier. You get the sour cherries, which aren't quite ripe yet. Those are Morella, or the Olbalu cherry, which is this Iranian cherry, which my father sort of introduced into, well, I don't know if he introduced it into Britain, but certainly was the first person propagating and selling the trees to the public. So we get a lot of sort of Iranian custom where people will buy the trees from us because you can use it for cooking, because it's a sour cherry. Sweet cherries, I'd say just eat them, but sour cherries, you can cook them. You can also put them into like vodkas and stuff if you're into that. You also get the sort of yellow cherries as well, which I have to say aren't possibly as nice. They're not as sweet, but they are quite pretty. So I've got a few of those. We're going to go through, I think, probably about 10 different varieties where I've taken the bags off the trees so we can try those before I later come back and pick them and store them in the house, or put the bags back on because I can't leave them off for too long in case the birdies come back. So, very good, that Stella. So here we have some of the other popular varieties. This one is called Lapins. There we go. Lapins, again, a lot like Stella. It's a popular variety which we sell a lot of. Grows quite well. Let me just put it somewhere nice. So you can see it's a nice big dark cherry. And the good thing about cherries, if you are going to bag them, is that they do grow in these clusters. So you can see here on this tree, this is the summit tree. You get a big old cluster of them. So you can just put one big bag around that. You're not going to get any cherries on like these branches, but you just get this big old cluster and you can just bag the whole thing up. So this is the, okay, let me do the comparison. So Lapins does look a lot like Summit. That is a big cherry. That is an impressive cherry. It's sweeter. It's definitely different to the Stella. It's sweeter. I can see birds already out there looking at what I've done, debagging all these cherries. That is a delicious sweet cherry. Very, very nice. Let's try Summit. So Summit here. Let me sum it up. Extremely good as well. I mean, cherries, my point once they said to Joan, actually, cherries are cherries. They're all very similar, but there are different cherries, and they ripen at different stages. Generally, though, they're all the same. Let's say they follow the same blueprint. They are delicious. These things, like, no one's going to say no to these. These are all extremely sweet. It's the timings which will be different. Let's keep moving. So down here, I'm gonna have to find a label. Inga. So Inga, not as popular in terms of sales, but it again looks like a very nice cherry. So Inga cherries. There's a little group of 3. They are possibly, yeah, they're actually quite big. I think this one should be a meaty one. No, it's extremely soft. Now that is different. Now this is how naive I am. That is sweet, but also with a bit of acidity, but much softer, less meaty than the Stella and the Summit and the Lapins. Don't swallow the stone. That is delicious. That won't travel at all. Oops, butterfingers. No, that is a really, really nice cherry, Inga. It's so soft and nice. Like buttery, like a pear. That's really good. We're just focusing on this side right now. Oh, I like that. Oh, there's one back there that I was going to reach. That is Ronalds Heart. Oh, can I reach without breaking everything? So Ronalds Heart. So there are lots of cherries that are called something heart, and that's because of the heart shape. This has a distinct sort of heart shape to it. I'm hoping it's right because it's slightly red. You do get red cherries as well as the darker ones. Okay, maybe it's not quite right, but it's also not as dark. So I've found in my, again, lack of experience, but sort of first-hand experience, the lighter flesh cherries are more acidic. I'd say the Inga is still my favourite, but then all those other ones, the Stellas and the Lapins, were extraordinary as well. This one is called Noir Gin. It is quite noir, which for people who don't speak French means black. Now I probably could leave this a bit longer to make it blacker. It is a relatively small cherry. Maybe that's, I don't know how this usually performs. I'm just showing you what we have here. Compared to the other cherries, it is smaller. Very black inside actually. Probably will stain my fingers. Less sweet and juicy. That Inga was still much better. I would say Noir Gin has got a nice, it has definitely got that cherry sweet flavour though. If you ever have cherry sweets, it's a hard flavour to capture, but they've almost like created an artificial version of cherry, and like cherry cola. Yeah, that had that cherry cola flavour, that Noir Gin. This one is, look at that nice bunch. They do crack a bit, but because these have, you know, they're not exposed at all, they're not sort of rotting or anything. They've not got any sort of wormies in them, as I like to call them. That's quite a big one. This is called Prunus Kirsch. Now I don't know where that's from. I'll have to look that up, but that is quite a nice, attractive big cherry. It's meaty, just like the Stella. Has extremely a pleasant meatiness to it. I don't want to upset vegans by using the word meaty, but hopefully understand what it means. It's got a bit of bite to it. When you bite it, it's sort of, you have to sort of, it's not soft and buttery. That's the opposite of soft and buttery. I think that's more of those Prunus Kirschens. Is it Prunus Kirsch? Yeah, Prunus Kirsch. Very nice, the cherry. Ooh, we've got something else here. Look at me, I've taken all the bags off and left them on the side to sort of symbolize, to label where I need to go. This one is called, now let's try this together, Mramorovana. That's a tricky one. But yeah, let's try it. These are all random cherries my dad somehow collected from somewhere. Obviously in Europe they're big on cherries. Less juicy, quite meaty. It feels like this one's got a bigger stone and less flesh. It's alright. It's an alright cherry. I wouldn't go mad about Marama, whatever it was called. I don't think there are any more on this side, so we're going to go down the other side in a second. As you can see, this is how the bags work again. Looking alright in there. Hopefully not too much damage. I think there might be some here. This was the only other one up here. So, this one is called Cassia. So Cassia is very nice. Again, slightly acidic, so it's not as sweet, but it's got like a rich vitamin C flavour to it. So not like the Stella. It's got a lovely rich flavour to it. I appreciate that. That's the arbor. I had to replant one because there was an issue, and this tree doesn't look too happy. But the Mela cherries, because those are Prunus serratus as opposed to Prunus avium, this is like a typical Prunus avium leaf. And then if I go back, this looks more like a Prunus serratus leaf. I don't know which one. This is one of these weird sort of sour cherry varieties. Prunus serratus trees do look better in my opinion than Prunus avium. Prunus avium, I don't know, cherries are very popular, the wood is good, the fruit is good, but you don't get much unfortunately. The flowers are quite nice, but overall I think the look of Prunus avium, you get a lot of these dead branches on them. You know, it's not as healthy a looking tree. It does look slightly sort of tropical in my opinion, slightly sort of interesting, but I definitely prefer Prunus serratus. Now this tree here, a big name again, Bigarro de Shrek. So there is, it says there's a large black high quality eating cherry. There we go. There's some large black high quality eating cherries. They are quite big actually. Nice and polished. That has got a bit of everything, because it has got the same with apples. It has that depth of flavour. If it's just sweet, it's a bit like, okay, this is good for, you know, everyone's going to like something that's sweet, but because it's got a bit of acidity to it as well, it's got a depth of flavour. So if you imagine like Ashmead's kernel or something, it's in apple world, it's got that sort of, it's got everything, you know, layers like Cox, it's got a bit of layers to it. If you just like Fuji, that's fine, that's very sweet. Gala's very sweet, but when you want something that's just got a bit more flavour, yeah, this Bigarro de Shrek is very nice. I'm not related to Shrek, the DreamWorks film, unfortunately. I don't think it was even spelt the same. This tree needs to come out. I don't like him for some reason. Yeah, you can see how nice the big leaves are nice. Generally speaking, with cherries, so if you are chip budding in the season, now this is important to learn, and I do tend to get this wrong, but there are big buds on these, and the big buds can be damaged quite easily. So when you graft them, you just got to be careful what you're doing. I'm probably going to get this wrong, but you also have to be aware where you collect the bud from, because some of these are flower buds, and pardon me, some of these are vegetative buds, which you want the vegetative buds for grafting, Although what generally happens is you might get a flower appear first and then a sort of side bud coming out. And I'm pretty sure these big juicy ones at the back are the ones where the flowers come from. So if you select these ones, you will have slightly less success rate as if you select these ones for grafting. And I'm really hoping I've got that right, because I tend to make a mistake each year when I do it. And not a big mistake, but I do sometimes get it the wrong way around. I should really write these things down. Now moving forward, I'm going to have to go around the other side to get that. There aren't too many left. This one is Prunus MB Maga from Hungary. So you can see, look, that leaf is very different. It looks almost like a pear leaf. Compare that to the Prunus avium leaf. My. But these, there aren't any. Oh no, there are some here. Now these tiny little, great camera work. These tiny little cherries are acidic cherries which are used for flavouring booze, because I guess in Hungary they've developed that variety for flavouring booze, and I guess it's popular. So it's quite an interesting looking tree though. Around here, look, you get these very yellow cherries. So that's like, there are different types of cherries. I would say the yellow ones, that's Merton Glory, I believe. There are different cherries for different uses, but let's face it, the red ones are probably the best. This one is ding ding ding. I'm gonna find the label. You stare at the cherries whilst I look. Oh, that's Sunburst. Yeah, is it? No, that's Early Rivers. No, it's Sunburst. Beg your pardon. That is Sunburst. Sorry, the branches all cross over each other. Off camera, I was doing some really interesting working out. So that's Sunburst. Sunburst is a really popular variety as well. Let's see how good it is. It's a nice short, well, you can see some of them have got much shorter stalks on them as well. Very meaty, sweet, not acidic at all. Yeah, very nice. Yeah, Sunburst is good. Yeah, I like that. I guess that's why it's popular. I think it's quite a modern variety. This one is Sunburst again, is it? Yeah, I think it is Sunburst again. You can see it's quite a pretty cherry. Definitely wouldn't say no to that cherry. So there's a few left to do. I think the rain's coming in, so I want to get out of the rain. So this is a slightly yellower one. I didn't mean to elongate the year. So this one, I don't know how ripe it is, but it just looked ripe to me, and it is softening. And I do need to cut these nails. Look at those yucky things. But yeah, it is softening a bit. So we are going to try. Here I am, slowly working. Oh, it's amber, yeah. I did think it was amber. So amber, the name suggests, isn't going to be dark red. And it's yellow inside. That's interesting. It's kind of peachy. It is, I'd say it is actually pleasant. It's noticeably slightly more acidic than the red ones, like the Stella and that Sunburst. It's interesting. I like that. It's acidic. So in the same way that something like that Bigger the Shrekken or the Inga had that depth of flavour, it is sweet, but it has a level of acidity to it as well. That is nice. So I take it back now, y'all. The yellow cherries are good as well, especially this amber. I definitely want more of those. And I will come back, and believe me, I'm going to collect most of these. I'll bag I'll take the ripe fruit for my children and my wife. Get a bowl actually from the house. You can see this one sort of, I don't get it. Somehow nothing has gone for this, but the other ones, there will be holes where this is just ripped to shreds. And some big old, I don't know, Starling or something's come along and just helped itself to all the fruit. But yeah, I'll come back and collect these before the birds come back and work out what's going on. That dark cloud over there looks like it might be rain. We've had showers all day. Okay, I think we've basically finished here. A very anticlimactic conclusion to the video. Yeah, I don't know why they leave some. Some of them they leave. So, let's go back, have one last bite of the cherry, as they say, and I will make up a great conclusion. So yeah, growing cherries is important because there is a good history of growing cherries, and they are a lovely fruit in a period where they're, you know, if you have a cherry tree, right now there's nothing real. Okay, you can pick raspberries at this time of the year, you can pick strawberries, but if you have a fruiting tree, it's quite nice to have a cherry tree at this time of the year. You can cook with things like, so in Iranian cooking, when the albalus are ripe, which is slightly later, or you could use Mela Cherry, it's very similar. Albalu is just slightly darker. In Iran we cook with them. I say in Iran, I'm clearly not in Iran right now, but my parents would have done this. And you can actually cook Iranian food in England, it's not illegal yet. So there's a very nice rice dish which we call albalu polo, which is sort of these acidic cherries with rice, and it's a very sort of sweet but acidic flavour with the rice. It is absolutely delicious. I do actually kind of want to make some now that I'm talking about it. We also use albalu in you can get the juice, but making it into a sort of, because you turn it into a syrup, but there is a sort of, what do you call it, like fruit rolls, which are made of albalu. So basically drying the fruit, less preserving it that way. It's very, very nice flavour because it is both, it is acidic but in a lovely way. So that's always been very popular in sort of Iranian cooking, to have something that's sweet and acidic in your cooking. So even in your sort of savoury stews, you make something sweet and acidic. And it's just the colour. I mean, look at that right now. As much as I'm an apple guy, that just looks like rubies growing off a tree. And I don't blame the birds for going for them because they look amazing. So yeah, grow some cherry trees if you've got space. They're not necessarily going to be the most productive things in the world because of the bird problem, but like I said, buy a few of these baggy things, and after you've done your hand pollination, whack them on the cherry trees. They're not expensive, you might lose a few, but I don't know, probably worth doing it. So anyway, thank you very, very much for watching. I hope you've also had some success with growing cherries. I'm going to have another one of these summits because they're right here and they look great. And yeah, I'll make more videos again. As I said, I'm quite busy because baby's in the house, but I'll do my best. Thanks for watching. Cheers, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this one. Bye bye.